Welcome back. This is week 2 of the Cooper-Clayton method to stop smoking. This past week, you should have eliminated cigarettes or e-cigarettes as your source of nicotine. You should have received all of your nicotine in a safer form, from the nicotine patch, the nicotine lozenge, or the nicotine gum. A high percentage of the smokers we have worked with report that during their first week off cigarettes, they have lots of thoughts about cigarettes and that they often occur close together. These cravings are perfectly normal. Let's put the cravings into context.
Someone who smokes 20 cigarettes a day consumes 7,300 cigarettes a year. If they have smoked for 25 years, they've smoked 182,500 cigarettes. Smokers generally take 10 puffs off each cigarette. That means they've drawn cigarette smoke into their lungs more than 1.8 million times. This is why we often refer to smoking as an overlearned behavior.
So if you've had some intense and frequent cravings for cigarettes this past week, think about this. Someone who has smoked for 25 years has smoked 1,290 weeks. You have just spent 1 week without smoking. You can't expect to curb a long-term addiction to nicotine and extinguish such an overlearned behavior in 1 week without experiencing some difficulty. Please be patient. As the weeks go by, not only do the thoughts of cigarettes, the cravings tend to spread out more, they tend to occur for shorter and shorter periods of time. One way to think about the process of becoming a non-smoker is to put the number of weeks you have gone without smoking a cigarette in the numerator and the number of weeks you have ever smoked in the denominator. In the example we've just used, there's a 1 in the numerator and 1,290 weeks in the denominator. Let's keep adding smoke-free weeks in the numerator.
This week we want to describe some of the things people experience in their first week off cigarettes. Occasionally someone using the nicotine patch will report having sleep disturbances. The first question we always ask is, did you have some difficulty sleeping before you started using the patch? We want to make sure these folks are not attributing anything that happens to them to a recent change in their life, like making a commitment to becoming a non-smoker. This is the phenomenon of after this, therefore because of this. Most of those who report sleep disturbances while using the nicotine patch describe what happened as I had very vivid dreams.
They report waking up and thinking the dream actually happened to them. It's not unusual for someone to say they dreamed that they smoked a cigarette. Then they wake up with tremendous feelings of guilt. It has been our experience that the vivid dreams either lessen or disappear completely after 2 to 4 weeks. Plus, they seem to occur only with the 21 milligram patch. Virtually no one reports vivid dreams with the 14 or the 7 milligram patch. However, if sleep disturbances continue to occur and prevent you from functioning normally, consult with your healthcare provider to determine if there may be other reasons for the vivid dreams. Most importantly, don't give up. This is only a temporary situation.
Tom and I have learned a great deal from years of working directly with smokers going through the Cooper-Clayton method. One of the most important and practical comments we've heard came from a woman who was heavily dependent on nicotine and had smoked for over 30 years. She said that when the thoughts of cigarettes occasionally got very strong, I said to myself, we don't do that anymore. There is a great deal of wisdom in her statement. The important thing we learned from her is the fact that it's okay to admit that you're scared to become a non-smoker and that there are some practical types of self-talk that can make the process of becoming a non-smoker much easier.
If you're using the commit lozenge or the 4 milligram Nicorette and are having problems with craving, you might consider increasing your dose. That is the number of pieces you're using each day. If you're having craving or withdrawal and are using the nicotine patch, consider adding up to 4 pieces of 4 milligram commit lozenge or 4 pieces of 4 milligram Nicorette per day. We've found that most who supplement the patch do so for a relatively short period of time, say 2 to 4 weeks. As we describe how your body metabolizes nicotine, you'll see why you can expect to feel much more comfortable in only a few days.
Dr. Neil Benowitz of the University of California at San Francisco says there is as much as a 300% difference in the rate 2 individuals metabolize nicotine. This means that a person smoking 50 cigarettes a day and a person smoking 30 cigarettes a day may not have that much difference in blood nicotine levels. It may be that one individual's body eliminates the nicotine so much more rapidly than another. That is why the 50 per day smoker has to put more nicotine in their body to stay comfortable compared to the 30 or 20 a day smoker.
Let's talk briefly about increasing your physical activity now that you no longer smoke cigarettes. Your cigarette smoking resulted in you needing about 200 calories a day more than if you were a non-smoker. As you slowly reduce nicotine intake to zero, your metabolic rate will slow 4 to 6%. You'll need to do something to offset the influence of slower metabolism. Unless you have some physical problem, we strongly urge you to start walking 1/2 mile a day every day for the next 2 weeks. Then plan to increase your distance 1/2 mile each 2 weeks. By the end of 8 weeks, you will be up to 2 miles a day. Interestingly, 2 miles a day burns off 200 calories a day. Smoking 30 cigarettes a day burns off 200 calories a day. The walking not only burns calories, it also improves your ability to breathe and has good benefits for your cardiovascular health. Plus, the type of walking is good therapy to prevent weight gain that you may have previously experienced when you attempted to go cold turkey.
We have found over the years that most individuals who have difficulty with weight gain create their own problem. They pick up a nervous habit when they lay down cigarettes and start grabbing food with both hands. There are several explanations for why this happens that you may not be aware of. First, the nicotine from your cigarette was suppressing insulin output. When you lower nicotine intake, the insulin output returns to normal. Therefore, you may find that your blood sugar level is temporarily reduced. There's a simple and healthy way to deal with this. We have found that an apple mid-morning and mid-afternoon is a very effective way to keep you from getting that washed out feeling as you reduce your nicotine level. It is perfectly normal for you to experience low blood sugar at about 10 a.m. and 2 and/or 4 p.m. You may have heard advertisements for Dr. Pepper suggesting that use of that sugar-sweetened beverage at 10, 2, and 4 might be appropriate. This is why we recommend an apple or some other fruit that has a high content of complex sugars in mid-morning and mid-afternoon.
A second thing you will notice is that you will be receiving less central nervous system stimulation from the nicotine replacement product than you did from cigarettes. You will find that you're no longer revving up your body artificially with a drug. Instead of taking that smoke break, take a brisk 5-minute stroll. It will get your metabolic rate up and allows you to have a healthy change of pace instead of smoking a cigarette. It is okay to take a break without a cigarette in your hand. Also strongly urge you to take a brisk stroll rather than reaching for a candy bar when you take a break. Reaching for a candy bar, a sugar-sweetened soda, or some other sweet is your way of using sugar for its stimulant effect. Unfortunately, this is an unhealthy coping response to what is naturally happening because you're no longer getting a nicotine jolt with each cigarette.
An additional piece of information may be helpful. Smokers inhale a gas named hydrogen cyanide in the cigarette smoke. This gas anesthetizes the cilia in the tracheobronchial tubes, carrying air to the lungs. You may find that you cough now, even if you didn't cough while you were smoking. That is not a reason for concern. It is the lungs clearing themselves. It should disappear in 4 to 6 weeks. If it continues longer than that, however, consult with your healthcare provider.
The tobacco plant produces a chemical agent to defend itself from insects. That chemical agent is nicotine. Next time you're at a store that sells farm-related or garden products, look at the ingredients. You might discover that many insecticide products contain nicotine. Nicotine is there to kill insects.
Nicotine obviously has other functions. The brain's principal function is to defend the body. The human brain contains nicotinic receptors. Those receptors are there to detect and accept nicotine provided by the smoker. The nicotine binds to the nicotinic receptors. This stimulates the release of a number of different neurotransmitters, including dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, acetylcholine, GABA, and glutamate. Because of the rapidly increasing knowledge base generated by neuroscience research, we know a great deal about the role of nicotinic receptors and neurotransmitters.
As we mentioned earlier, in cigarette smokers, nicotinic receptors are upregulated, that is, increased in number 100% to 300%. This may enhance the reinforcing actions of cigarettes. The smoker's brain gets an enhanced sense of pleasure and an enhanced sense of arousal from the nicotine in cigarettes.
Let's say that you inhale nicotine for the first time at age 14. In about 7 seconds, measurable amounts of nicotine stimulated the pleasure center and the arousal center in the brain. The brain says, "Wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever had. Give me some more."
Remember, the brain's principal function is to protect the body. The poor body is saying, "Are you kidding? That's the grossest thing you ever did to me." The brain says, "Unfortunately for you, body, when there's a tie vote, I'll win. Give me some more nicotine." And so over time, you learn to deliver a steady dose of nicotine to your brain until the brain becomes comfortable at a certain level of nicotine. For some, that level can be delivered with 20 cigarettes a day. For others, it is 30 or 40 or more cigarettes a day. This is where the comment by Dr. Benowitz is relevant. There may be as much as a 300% difference across smokers in the speed with which they metabolize nicotine.
At one time, 0 nicotine was the amount of nicotine your body was accustomed to dealing with. You probably started smoking 2 or 3 cigarettes a day. It wasn't long before you got up to, say, 10 cigarettes a day. At that time, the brain was getting all the nicotine it wanted or felt it needed. Eventually, you reach a plateau for blood nicotine levels, and that becomes your usual pattern of self-administration of nicotine.
The poor body, meanwhile, was saying, "I don't like that stuff. I'd better get more efficient at getting rid of it." So you continue to smoke 10 cigarettes per day for a period of time. Your body increased its ability to metabolize or get rid of the nicotine. So the amount you were getting from 10 cigarettes a day slowly becomes inadequate. The brain then said, "Hey, you were doing real fine there a while. Give me some more nicotine." The body said, "Are you kidding?" The brain replied, "Hey, what did I tell you about those tie votes?"
So you increased your level of smoking to about 20 cigarettes a day. The body retained its previous ability to get rid of nicotine and further increased its ability. It still doesn't like this foreign substance you're putting in it. The brain is very happy eventually. As the body gets more effective at eliminating nicotine, the amount you're putting in with 20 cigarettes a day may not be adequate. The brain may say, "Give me some more." So some of you increased your consumption of cigarettes. Each time you increased the dosage, the brain got a little extra nicotine. But pretty soon the body created additional capability to get rid of that nicotine. You may have continued that process on up to 30, 40, or more cigarettes a day. At this time in history, the modal pattern of smoking in the U.S. among active daily smokers is about 20 cigarettes a day. However, we will use 30 a day as a template or example throughout these sessions of the Cooper-Clayton method to stop smoking. You will, of course, adjust the Cooper-Clayton method of nicotine replacement to fit your own cigarette smoking patterns.
What the Cooper-Clayton program does makes sense. It looks at the way you learn to use nicotine and the way you train your brain to expect nicotine. Not only to expect it, but to want larger and larger amounts over time to prevent you from experiencing withdrawal. You're now introduced a lower level of nicotine with the nicotine patch, the nicotine gum, or the nicotine lozenge. Because these products deliver lower, less variable blood levels of nicotine than smoking, the number and density of nicotinic brain receptors begins to diminish. Studies show the number of nicotinic receptors returns to normal at about 60 days after cigarette smoking is eliminated.
If you have stuck to your plan this week and had no cigarettes, you've discovered that it is possible to live and be comfortable without smoking. Be patient. You're only 1 week from being much more comfortable. You have found that your brain will accept this new way of giving it nicotine. The body's main method to eliminate nicotine is to increase enzymes in the liver that change the nicotine to cotinine, its inactive metabolite. If you've used nothing but the patch or the gum or the lozenge as your source of nicotine for 1 week, your body has already lost some of its ability to metabolize nicotine. The number of liver enzymes is reduced in 8 days after you reduce nicotine intake by eliminating cigarettes using the nicotine patch lozenge or gum. The amount you are getting from the nicotine replacement product, which may not have seemed quite enough the first few days, will become enough in 8 to 14 days. In 8 to 14 days, your brain will have become accustomed to getting its nicotine in a different way and be more comfortable with a smaller amount. Your brain will no longer plague you. If you've sneaked a few puffs or a few cigarettes, this does not occur. Your brain is still bugging you. Committing to having no cigarettes after starting the patch, lozenge, or gum is the best way to minimize your discomfort. If you're using the nicotine patch, you will reduce the amount of nicotine in 6 weeks by moving to the 14 milligram patch. Once again, your brain will say, "What kinds of tricks are you playing on me?" After about 8 to 14 days at that lower level, once again, your body will lose some of its ability to metabolize nicotine. The amount of nicotine from smaller amounts of nicotine from the gum or the lozenge or the patch will become adequate and you will become more comfortable.
Let's remind you again what people who succeed using the Cooper-Clayton method bring with them at the beginning of the process. Number one, a decision that being a non-smoker is more attractive than being a smoker. Number two, they're willing to accept some discomfort in making the transition from smoker to non-smoker. And three, they have confidence in the program they're going through and the method they are using.
Now we want to tell you what the people do who succeed using the Cooper-Clayton method to become non-smokers. They make a firm commitment to using the NRT product as their only source of nicotine. They use enough NRT to make them feel comfortable. They use the NRT long enough. We know the program works and it will work for you. Don't try to change it. It's not broken. Don't try to fix it.
Stopping smoking is a process, not a discrete event. If you think of becoming a non-smoker as a process, you will be successful. Don't think about what things may be like 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, or a year from now. Focus on the present and what you must do to become a non-smoker. The thing that you can do to make yourself become a non-smoker bearable is to say to yourself repeatedly, "I think I'll be better off as a non-smoker than as a smoker. I have chosen to take control of my life. I'm tired of being dominated by cigarettes. I'm tired of cigarettes driving me. I think I'll take over from here."